Good morning, everybody. It's Barb Katie here. It's a rainy day in Fairmont, West Virginia. It's blessedly cooler than it has been for the last week or so, and I'm truly grateful for that. But the rain has gotten in the way of my walk this morning, and I'll have to hope for a break in the weather or try to walk between the raindrops in a little while. But everything's good and life goes on. Whatever the weather is, it just is what it is. We can't do a thing about it. I'll be heading off to my meeting here in a little bit, and then I'll report in to Rick and let him know how I did. I'm fairly confident this is going to be a good week. The scales here at my house seem to indicate so, but we'll have to wait and see when I get to my chapter meeting exactly how things are going. The thing I thought I'd like to talk to you a little bit about today is something that just happened recently that reminded me how much a product I am of the way I grew up. And probably some of you have similar experiences that you can recall, and we'll see how it goes. And this has to do with something we talked about not too long ago. We were talking about habits and how difficult habits sometimes are to overcome, and some of the things we can do to try to modify habits of a lifetime. And one of the things that got to me over the weekend was my childhood beliefs. I don't know if you have any unwanted behaviors that you learned as a child that you all of a sudden as an adult have discovered you still have and maybe need to address. But sometimes, and for me particularly, what I have found is many of my beliefs about eating were actually learned when I was a kid. We hold beliefs about eating that are so deeply embedded that we don't question or even recognize them. Even when they are invisible to you, unexamined beliefs may be driving your eating decisions, producing results that you don't like or don't understand. Here are some things that I was thinking about this weekend. Oh, pardon me. If I hear. Oh, well, isn't that special? Is that children absorb beliefs about eating from their family. That's sort of a no-brainer. You know, you eat every meal with your family as you're growing up as a kid pretty much. And these beliefs tend to be unconscious, unquestioned, either indirectly, unintentionally, or intentionally. Lessons we've learned from old experiences, inexplicable cravings or overeating that doesn't make any sense. These are all sort of beliefs way back in the day that we have brought forward to our adulthood, and they become like invisible walls. And over the weekend, here's one that I discovered that's true for me. That's a belief about eating. I won't get my share. All my boys were home, and they were raiding the refrigerator for a chocolate pudding snack. My sons love homemade chocolate pudding. What can I say? I immediately wanted some. Even though I recognized that I wasn't hungry. So I looked at my son, Daniel, and I said, "Hey, they're almost gone. Save one for me." As Dan reached into the icebox and he handed one to me, he said, "You know, we can make more of these." And I sort of looked at it and I thought, yeah, we sure can. Old beliefs cause cravings, and that lead sometimes to overeating. I briefly reflected at that moment on what had just happened. I love pudding, but it's something I rarely make. It's not about restricting or fear of binging. It's simply a conscious personal decision to have it in more of a social setting rather than have it around all the time. Um, Interestingly, although I never feel deprived of pudding, seeing the cups was an environmental trigger. Uh, Knowing that the pudding was rapidly going away felt like an emotional trigger. And I thought to myself, why? I don't care. It's chocolate pudding isn't even my favorite flavor. Then I remembered, and this is the important thing to me, when I was a kid, I had a really active younger brother who would sometimes finish off all of the favorite snack foods that were in the refrigerator or in the cupboards before I got a chance to have any. As a result, I would often overeat those foods out of fear that I wouldn't get my share. Duh. Later, when I began dieting, pudding wasn't allowed. That deprivation further reinforced my scarcity fears. I just needed to stop, take a breath, and remind myself that food, particularly pudding, wasn't scarce. I can buy or make more and I can eat it whenever I choose, if I choose to do so. The pudding doesn't really have any scarcity to it. So that led me to further contemplate over the weekend some of the other common beliefs about eating that we sometimes carry through to our adulthood. Mindful eating, which I truly think is extremely helpful as a technique in understanding why sometimes it's so hard for us to maintain a trajectory and stay on track. It teaches us to pause and become curious about how we're feeling about the food, what our thoughts are, what our feelings are, giving us a way to become more aware about the underlying beliefs we have about eating. Some of the examples I came up with, and I'm sure you're going to have more that you can lend to it, but just for purposes of this conversation, I thought I'd share them with you, is when I'm really hungry, I need to eat more food than I usually do. Well, that's a common belief. If you're really, really hungry, you want to sit down and chow down. Actually, that signal is not one that says you should eat more food. It's a signal that says you really are hungry and you need to eat soon. Not more, but soon. After all, your blood sugar might be low, your stomach capacity doesn't change. If you eat extra food, you'll go from being too hungry to being too full, from one extreme of discomfort to another extreme of discomfort. And what you need to do is what I call rewiring my brain. When I'm really, really hungry, I might want to eat some carbs first. Fruit, starchy vegetables, carbs of that nature are digested quickly and will bring my blood sugar back up a little bit if it's fallen down pretty low. Eating slowly gives my head time to catch up with my stomach. They don't talk to each other really, really well, and it takes about 20 minutes. So eating slowly can be very important. So that was the first additional one I thought. I said, I won't get my share. Then when I'm really hungry, I need to eat more. And then the next one was eat dessert after dinner. Well, I think that's more of a social thing. I know in my family, after the dinner was cleaned up, very often my mother would bring out dessert for the family. It was sort of a special social time where you would visit and talk over a cup of coffee and maybe some dessert. Uh, Also, in my family, which was a clean plate club family, there was a unstated rule that if you did not eat all of your dinner, you would not be able to get your dessert. It was sort of like a reward for eating the other food that was offered to you. Uh, One of the things I've learned is if I'm really, really full, if the dinner's been satisfying and good and I've eaten a sufficient amount, I'm not going to enjoy that dessert. Uh, I'm not hungry. It's okay not to have it. Uh, and that again is another moment where you can sort of rewire your brain and rethink what things you've learned as a child. If you really want dessert, maybe what you need to do is uh, one of the popular sayings around now is eat dessert first. Maybe you want to taste a bite or two of that dessert at the beginning of the meal. I promise you, one bite is going to taste exactly like all the other bites that you might want to eat. The flavor is not going to change. That way, if you feel full at the end of the meal, you won't feel like you missed out on anything if you didn't eat the rest. You can also follow my grandmother's advice to save room for dessert by doing that. You eat a little bit first, and then you've had the taste of the dessert, and that's all you need. Another great strategy is to take your dessert home with you if you're eating at somebody else's house. Now, there's some desserts you may not be able to conveniently take home, but most things you can easily say, oh, would you mind putting it in a little container for me? I'll take it home and enjoy it later on. And people are thrilled that you like it enough that you want to take it with you. And they're also happy that you ate a dinner that has left you satisfied and full. Um, the next common belief that I got to thinking about, and I've been guilty of this one too, is, I'm a little bit hungry. I should eat a meal. Well, no, that's not true. If you're only a little bit hungry, you only need a little bit of food. If you eat a full meal, you're likely to feel uncomfortably full when you're done. To rewire your brain on that one is pretty easy. You can either say to yourself, I think I'll wait a while before I sit down and have a meal, or I'll just have a small snack. Maybe I'll have some carrots, or I'll have an apple, or something like that, since I'm feeling a little bit hungry right now. And then the last one, or not the last one, but another popular one in my family was, I must clean my plate. I should not waste food. Think of the starving, whoever they are. That was sort of a litany in my household always, was you should be grateful. Think of all the starving people in the world who would be grateful to be able to sit down to this meal. And there were a few times with a few things, and I'm blessed because I like almost all foods. But there are a few that are not my favorites, where my mom would cook something and I would think, oh, I wish I could send it to them right now, because this is not on my list of favorite foods. However, we live in an age of pretty much abundance. In this country, we're so blessed to be able usually to put food on the table for our families. So that is not often the case that we actually go hungry, even though I said initially one of my first food thoughts was food is scarce. Well, that was because I had a younger brother that ate like a bulldozer, that any food was game for his voracious appetite when he was playing sports and very active. One of the things I could do to rewire my brain, instead of cleaning my plate because there are starving children here, there, everywhere is something that actually I have done in recent years. I regularly contribute to Feed the Children or other organizations that focus on getting food nutrition to children in third world countries and in our own country who may be struggling to get the nutrition they need. And that always makes me feel good. Another thing that I grew up believing was it's rude to refuse food. It is not rude to eat according to your body's needs. That's something that I have learned thanks to TOPS. It's okay to say no thank you, I've had enough, or no thank you, I'm full, or just no thank you, I don't care for any right now. I appreciate it. I can remember my Aunt Eleanor was always a great one for pushing food on you, and she would always look at you with these big brown sad eyes and say, "You don't like it, Barbara Ann?" "Well, yes, I liked it, but I just wasn't hungry." And that was okay. You can rewire your brain that it's acceptable to decline food that you don't need, and just do it politely and firmly. What I'd like to know, I guess, is do you have additional beliefs that you maybe need to look at rewiring your brain about? Things that you learned as a child that you don't even think about any consciously, that sometimes lead you into an episode of eating that turns out to be detrimental to the progress you're wanting to make? If you do, I ask you please to just take a moment. Just try to rewire your brain and rethink why you're feeling that way. Ask yourself whether it's really true, or if you can delay eating for a little bit until your body is telling you it truly is hungry. Maybe if you're out and the restaurant has given you a huge portion, you can even choose to put half of it away in a take-home box before you even begin the meal, rather than be tempted to clean your plate. There are all kinds of beliefs that we carry forward from our childhood that we've not looked at since we became adults, and we're still responding to those beliefs as if they were really, really true. Right now, just flitting through my brain came a chant that we always used when we were going from the house to school, because I walked to school, not uphill both ways like some people say, but I walked to school every day. And as we walked up the sidewalk, we would hop and skip and chant, "If you step on a crack, you'll break your grandpa's back." Well, that's not true. It absolutely is not true. But we would chant it as little kids, and we were very careful never to step on a crack. So examine the beliefs you have carried forward from childhood and let go of the ones that are not based in truth. Keep the ones that keep you moving forward, like an apple a day keeps the doctor away is another classic one that you sort of learn in childhood. And have a great day. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your journey. Run between the raindrops, and always remember to smile and be as happy as you possibly can every single moment that you're blessed to live another day. I will talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye-bye.